The prairie was quiet that evening, the sun slipping low across the horizon as rancher Samuel Hayes rode back from the far pasture. The cattle were restless, the wind uneasy, and the sky had that heavy, waiting silence before a storm. He was thinking about little more than closing the barn doors and warming his hands by the fire when he heard it. A cry, faint and desperate, carried by the wind. He pulled on the reins, his horse shifting nervously, ears flicking toward the sound. Again it came, sharper this time, a voice breaking under fear. He urged the horse forward, riding hard toward the canyon ridge, and that's when he saw her. A young woman, wrists bound with coarse rope, tied to a weathered fence post as though she'd been left for the coyotes. Her dress was torn, her face streaked with dirt, but her eyes, those eyes locked on his the moment he approached, were filled with a pleading that cut deeper than any knife. "Please, free me," she whispered, her voice hoarse but desperate. Samuel swung down, his boots crunching on dry earth as he pulled his hunting knife from his belt. His hands were steady, but inside, questions thundered. Who would leave? A woman like this? Why here, miles from any town? He sliced through the rope, the strands snapping one by one until her wrists fell free. But the moment she stumbled forward, collapsing into his arms, he saw it, the marks on her skin, deep and angry, like she had been dragged, beaten, and worse. The horror in her wounds told him this wasn't just cruelty. This was a message. She clung to him, trembling, whispering fragments he couldn't yet piece together. They'll come back. Don't let them. Her voice faded, exhaustion overtaking her as she went limp against his chest. Samuel lifted her onto his horse, his mind racing. He had seen bad men before, rustlers, outlaws, thieves, but nothing like this. Whoever had done this to her hadn't just wanted to hurt her. They wanted to make sure anyone who found her would know their kind of power. As the first rumble of thunder shook the sky, Samuel made a vow then and there. He didn't know her story, didn't know her name, but he knew one thing. He was going to protect her, no matter the cost. And as he rode back toward his ranch with her fragile form resting against him, he couldn't shake the feeling that by cutting that rope, he hadn't just saved a stranger. He had set loose a storm that was about to break over all of them. The storm hit before midnight, rain lashing against the windows of Samuel's ranch house as lightning split the sky. Inside, the fire crackled low, casting long shadows across the walls. The young woman lay on the couch wrapped in a blanket, her breathing shallow but steady. Samuel had done his best to clean her wounds, his hands clumsy but careful, and every time her eyes fluttered open he reassured her, in a voice that was softer than he ever knew he had. Finally she spoke her name. Eliza. And with it came fragments of the nightmare that had brought her here. She had been taken by men she didn't know, dragged from the wagon trail where her family had been traveling west. Her father fought to protect her, but she didn't know if he survived. They kept her bound, moved her from camp to camp, speaking in low voices about breaking her spirit. And then, for reasons she still couldn't understand, they tied her to that post and left her for dead. Samuel listened in silence, his jaw tight, anger boiling beneath the calm mask he wore. He wanted to storm out into the night, hunt them down one by one, but he knew better. These weren't common thieves, they were something darker, and they wouldn't stop just because she had slipped their grasp. As if on cue, a noise cracked. Against the storm, a creak of the porch boards outside, the unmistakable sound of boots in the rain. Samuel's hand went to his rifle, eyes cutting to the door. Eliza sat up, fear flooding her face. "They found me," she whispered. The knock came, hard and deliberate, rattling the frame. Samuel stepped forward, rifle raised, his voice calm but deadly. "This is private land. State your business." Silence followed, broken only by the roar of thunder, and then a voice answered, low and mocking. "We've come for what's ours." Samuel's blood ran cold, but his grip never faltered. He glanced back at Eliza, her eyes wide, and in that moment he made his choice. He wasn't just a rancher anymore. He was her shield. The door shuddered under a blow, then another, and Samuel knew the fight was coming. He leaned closer to Eliza, his voice barely above the crackle of the fire. "You're safe here. No matter what happens, I won't let them take you again." Her hand clutched his sleeve, trembling but full of trust, and with that, the man who had once lived quietly among cattle and open skies stepped into a darkness he had never asked for, but would now face head-on. Because once you cut the rope that binds a soul, you carry the weight of their freedom on your shoulders. And Samuel Hayes was ready to carry it, even if it meant blood on the floorboards by dawn. This was just the beginning of their fight, and the prairie would never be silent again. And dear listeners, if you want to see where this dangerous, heart-pounding journey leads, if Samuel can protect Eliza, if the shadows chasing her will finally be unmasked, then make sure you stay with us. Hit that subscribe button, because the story isn't over yet, and the next chapter will leave you breathless.